Hi, I'm here with my mom, Peggy Bradley, and we have another question for her this week. So the question is, what is one of your favorite trips that you've taken and what made it great?
Well, I would think the best trip I ever was on was to Israel, and what made it great it was where Jesus walked, and I was in Galilee. I was in a lot of famous things that are in the Bible, which was very exciting for me. And I went with a group of prayer people in the prayer group, with the travel agent, which was a friend of my mother's, and two priests. So it's pretty exciting. And I would say I've been to Ireland, like, I think 3 times. I've been to Italy a couple times, so I've had pretty lucky to be in some nice trips.
You went to Medjugorje?
I went to No, I didn't go to Medjugorje. I wanted to go to Medjugorje, but what happened was it was too dangerous at that time, so they had this trip to Israel. So I said, "Oh, I would." He said we were going with a group of a prayer group. He said if you would like to go, that we do have a spot on there with another woman. So I said, "No, I would like that."
So you didn't go with any people you knew. You just
no,
met
no.
somebody on the trip.
I asked my sister Rainey, Roseanne, and Betty were living, but they didn't want to go. My one sister, she called me the day before I left and said, it's very dangerous over there. Do you have insurance? And are you still going? I said, yes. If I'm going to die, I might as well die in Israel if I can. So, of course I went. And it was a great trip, very secure. It's well managed, and the people on the airline, the Israel airline, they all the people, the captains, the stewardesses, they all interview you to see why you're going there. They're very careful of the people they let in to Israel at that time.
And that was before 9/11.
Yes, this is before 9/11. And at 9/11, I went over to Italy. My granddaughter was in school there, Leslie, and Marie's daughter, and I went with Marie and Todd to be with her, and she couldn't get back, so we were lucky that we could go and come back. It was no problem for us at that time, but that was a bad time. But I've been pretty lucky.
The trip to Israel, what did you do? Did you go to Bethlehem?
Yeah, and we stayed in I think they call it a kibush, something like that.
Kibbutz.
And the people, they wait on you, and I met a priest. It was over St. Patrick's Day, and I met a priest, and he came over to me. He was from, where was he from? Israel, not Israel. The other side, what's the Pacific? No, but you don't know. But anyway, I can't think of it. Maybe it'll come back before we turn this off. And he came over to speak to me because I had green on, and so did he, and it was nice. So I met this priest from around the world.
You celebrated St. Patrick's Day in Israel.
I celebrated St. Patrick's Day in Israel, and I was smart enough to make sure I brought green with me. So I was ready, and of course I had my green on as much as I could because I'm very Irish. My mother came from Ireland, so of course.
What did you bring back from Italy? Do you remember? Did you bring anything back?
I brought mostly rosary beads, and I bought a small crucifix for all my daughters. I gave them all crucifixes from Israel, and it was the wood that they have in Israel. I can't think of it. Olive, I think it's called the olive, from the olive trees. And so I bought different ones, and I pretty much crucifixes, and I bought rosary beads. I have, I don't know how many different kinds of rosary beads from Israel.
What did people think when you were telling them you were going to go to Israel?
Well, my family, my only really that one thought I was a little crazy was my sister Betty. And I tried to get Rainey or Roseanne to go. They didn't want to go. Whatever. And Betty didn't. She certainly didn't want to go. And she thought I shouldn't go because it was very bad at that time in Israel. And she
did
said,
you sense that? When you were in Israel, did people have guns on the street? Was the army around?
They had like The women and men were both in the army in Israel, and they wore this thing over their shoulder, and they walked the streets. They were very calm, but I didn't see any kind of shooting or anything. Mm-hmm. And at that time, there was a lot of shooting. But when I was there, I saw none of that. Mm-hmm. Nothing that I would.
You never felt unsafe.
I never felt unsafe.
Would you go back if you could?
Yes. Yeah. And we had a guy with us, who was like, what do you call it? He was he was in the army originally. He was an older guy, and he was like a part of our tour.
Like a tour guide?
Yeah, he was like a tour guide for us. And we went to have different food. Their food, really and truthfully, as many places as I've been, there's nothing that compares with the United States. We have the best. We have the best of everything. But I think when you go other places and you realize that we do have the best. But sometimes I guess you got to go someplace to realize you got it made here.
How was the weather when you were there?
The weather was very nice. In fact, I was expecting it to be warmer than it was, but at that time it was more cool because I had, I went to a place where one of St. Joseph's shrines was, and I'm very, very dedicated to St. Joseph, and I went downstairs and I had a raincoat. It was a thin raincoat, and I still can remember being cold.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh my God!" But other than that, I was at different places, famous places in Israel.
Do you know did you go to see like the Sea of Galilee?
Yes, I was there.
Oh, okay. To put your feet in.
I did, and I was in the Black Sea. Is it the Black Sea? No, the Red. I don't know which.
The Dead Sea.
Yeah, and I went in that.
Oh.
I went in the Red Sea, and I bought some stuff from the Red Sea. God knows where it is now, but that I did buy it, and but other than that, it was not frightening at all. The flight was fine. The people were very nice. So were the Arabs. Everybody was, and they mingled together. Mm-hmm. I know we have hear a lot of stuff about Israel, but I'm telling you, these people, they're intermarried and they're very fond of each other. Mm-hmm. And I think we hear things that are just really not fair, because it's a lovely country, and it's the start of what we know.
Is there any place that you have not traveled to that you would like to travel to?
Oh gosh, I'd like to go to it's so far though, but I can't think of it. Oh, where the kangaroos are?
Oh, Australia.
Australia.
That's
that's where the priest was when I was in Israel.
Oh, and he was from Australia.
Yeah, he was from Australia, and like I think they call it kibbutz, and they have your different rooms, but people come there to take care of the people that are visiting, and I don't know whether it's like
I wonder if it's like we would do a bed and breakfast.
I think
like the locals are taking care of you.
Yeah,
just a different
I would put it in and you kind of have tables that you sit, and there's people from all over. Really, it's amazing.
Did you go to mass when you were there?
Well, we had the priest with us. They said the mass for us. Like one mass we had, and we had bread and wine, and it was like up on a mountain, and he said the mass. Well, the one priest would say it, and the other priest would be part of it, but he said it on the mass, and he brought the bread and the wine with him. That's where he actually bread and wine turned into the body and the blood of Christ, which was very nice.
Wow.
And there was so we did like a couple of them, 2 or 3 of them. So it was a lot of things that being with people that knew I would not have really known any of it.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot while I was there, and it was never scary. It was very exciting.
Did you think it was pretty?
I did, and I thought that the Sea of Galilee and a lot of stuff we read in the Bible, I seen there. So that was nice to know. Mm-hmm. And we went to mass at, like I said, at different places, and one of the priests would say the mass, and so that was exciting. I think it was 10 days that we were there.
Oh, that's nice.
With the traveling and all, it was all of 10 days. So that was really, really nice.
Where's another place that you've gone that you were so happy that you went?
Well, of course, to Ireland. I've been to Ireland. The first time I went to Ireland was with my mother. I took my mother right after my sister Mary died. I took her to Ireland to see her father. That was the first time she was back. She was 50 years old. In fact, we have her. Where's her picture, Ray? It's right here. Her picture when she went to what? This is what she had, a blue suit on, and here
But
it
that's
is.
not in 1978 because you took Grandmom I think in 1978 after Aunt Mary died. This was before.
No, this
that.
was before. I'm sorry. She took Roseanne was 11, so my mother was, I don't know how old my mother was, but she took Roseanne because she was the youngest. So my mother didn't want to go without her to Ireland.
So who went on the trip with you and Grandmom after Aunt Mary died?
Just my mother and me.
Oh.
Nobody else.
And you met your grandfather?
No, my grandfather, he was going in.
Oh, he was.
I met
okay.
my uncle Michael, and a couple of my cousins, Aunt Nora's. I knew Aunt Nora because she had came to America, so I knew Aunt Nora.
Mm-hmm.
But cousins I met there, and went different famous places in Ireland, like the whatever you call it, you climb the
Blarney Stone.
the Blarney Stone, which is it's high. I ain't climbing that thing; it's too high. And I'm a coward. I was afraid I would fall, so I looked up, but I didn't climb. But they had what was the name of the pub? Because my cousin said to me, she had just came back from Ireland, Patty Flanagan's wife, and she said, "Oh, you got to go to Crazy Nellie's or something. They play all American music, no Irish music. They sing all the American songs, and this is a long time ago. I'm trying to remember the year. I can't remember, but can't remember.
Well, Aunt Mary died in 1977, so it had to be 1978 or 79.
No, I guess that was when my mother went. Yeah, I guess that's it. That's the first time that I was there.
Yeah.
And I guess Ireland, and then after Ireland, I've been to the Vatican. I've been to Holy See to.
It's a lot of steps at the Vatican.
There's a lot of steps, a lot of steps at the Vatican. So I was there, and I wasn't like old like I am now, but it was still a lot of steps. I don't know that my mother went. My mother didn't go to the Holy Land.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't go. Apparently, maybe she didn't want to go because she was older, and I guess didn't want to be climbing steps, and I think she was kind of leery about going away so far.
Mm-hmm.
But and I can't think where else I was. Can you?
You've been to Hawaii. You've been.
I've been. Oh yeah, I was Hawaii. I forgot I wasn't. How could you forget being in Hawaii? But I was in Hawaii.
Not that it is America, but it's
of course
away.
It's in America, but it's
Puerto
quite.
Rico. You've been to Puerto Rico.
I've been to Puerto Rico, and
Have you been to Mexico? I think you've been.
no, I've never been to Mexico. I wanted to go to see the Lady of Guadalupe. I never did get to see that. I would have liked to see that.
Canada. Have you been to Canada?
I've never been to Canada. Oh no, I have. I've been to Canada. I've been to Montreal. No, Toronto. I was Toronto. I was at a big thing at the some kind of a whatever, but it was nice.
You were in London.
Oh, we were in London when we went.
Did Italy,
yeah.
we did London.
Yeah, and I was at the.
You got pretty far for a little kid from South Philly.
You better believe it. And then see, and when I went to, wait a minute. We were at the cathedral that burnt down. I was there in Paris.
Oh, no.
Because the French and the Italian, their railroads run next to each other. So I think it was just a stopover when we had lunch, and one of the women that was with us, she said I wanted to go to confession in the cathedral. What's the name of the cathedral?
In Notre Dame?
Notre Dame. So she wanted, so I went with her. So that was nice. That was very nice. But I was just, basically, I didn't see the Eiffel Tower or any of that. But I did see the cathedral.
Mm-hmm.
And that's before it burnt.
Well, it just burned down, so well.
That's a while ago,
That's
too.
why it burned down, yeah.
So, I got around pretty much for an old South Philly kid.
Okay. All right, well, we can stop it there because we have lots more questions to get to. But thank you so much for sharing your trip with us.
Okay, thank you so much.